Welcome to Insights into Israel with Sandy Laws, myself, Jeremiah D'Alessio, and Shimon Zimmer. We're continuing our series to understand some of the context of the physical places of Israel. Our good friend Shimon, who lives there and is a tour guide, is walking us through these locations. Today, I'm very excited to learn about the Temple Mount. I'm doing the intro today because Sandy decided I was better. No, honestly, she's having some audio issues. But I'm excited to hear about Shimon. You probably won't hear from Sandy or I much today because Shimon is just a wealth of knowledge. He's done this many times before, and we're excited for him to share with all of you about the temple. Good morning, Shimon.
Hi,
I guess good
hello,
evening
guys.
there.
Yeah, afternoon. Hi, how are you?
Great. Yourself?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about the temple, actually about the Temple Mount and the temple, because we are talking about something that runs the last maybe 4,000 years. 4,000 years. Before I'm going to show you a picture about the mount or the mountains surrounding the Temple Mount, we have to understand that when it comes to Yeshua, for the authors of the Gospels in the first century AD, it was important to show that Yeshua worked in the temple. And maybe his divinity or heavenly was actually shaped, and this is what made actually the big distance, the big gap between his Christianity from its Judaism. Well, he was a Jew and he died as a Jew, but his prophecies, what he left behind, made a big separation between Christianity and Judaism. And we think that the temple has a very big basis of that, these things. And this is what we are going to talk. So I'm trying to show you the mountains as it was before everything. And we can see here, this is Mount of Olives, the range of Mount of Olives. The yellow one is Mount Zion. We shall talk about it in one of our talking in the future. But have a look here. This is what we are calling Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah. On top of this mount, there is a rock. This is the most holiest place in the world for Jews. This is what we calling in Hebrew the stone of foundation. According to Jewish tradition, the first man was created there. According to Jewish tradition, this is where Abraham wanted to sacrifice Isaac. And this is the reason why the temples were built on this mountain, on this actually holy stone. King Solomon built the first temple. That was the 10th century before Christ. This temple lasted until 586. Then we went to Babylon. It was the first destruction of the temple. Then Ezra and Nehemiah, they came back from exile. They built another temple on the remains of King Solomon's temple. And then King Herod came. And King Herod, what he did, actually, he totally destroyed Ezra and Nehemiah temple, and he built his amazing, huge temple. Until today, in a perspective of 2,000 years ago, it's unbelievable to understand what he did. So basically, we call it Second Temple period, but that's actually third one. First is King Solomon, Ezra and Nehemiah, the second one, and King Herod, the third one. You know, in the book of Luke 18, Yeshua is talking about his death and resurrection. 3 times in the Bible, Yeshua is talking about his death and resurrection. One in what we're calling the Banias or Caesarea Philippi. Then he did it at the foot of Mount of Transfiguration, Mount Tabor. And the third time he did it was on the way to Jerusalem, to the temple. Yeshua saw the temple as a very, very, very important thing. And also, his parents, for them, it was so important. And when we're looking at the book of Luke, we're looking at the book of Luke 2. In the book of Luke 2, there is a beautiful story. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year, at the feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to customs. Every year, they went to the feast of Passover. Now, well, Christmas doesn't mention in the Bible, but I can show you in the book of Luke. I can show you the holiday of Tabernacle. I can show you in the book of Luke again the holiday of Hanukkah, the holiday of the lights, also, and Passover. Every year they came. In this chapter, there is an amazing story about what happened with Yeshua in the temple in the age of 12. And I'm continuing in the book of Luke. And when the feast was ended and they were returning, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents did not know it, but supposing him to be in the group, they went a day journey. Means the whole day they live in Jerusalem, back to Nazareth, and they didn't even notice that the boy is not there. Hello, is your son? What happened to you? But then they began to search for him among their relatives and all this the group of people around them. And when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem, searched for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, teaching, listening to them, and asking their questions. He's 12 years old, guys. 12 years old. And all who heard him were amazed about what he did. And it goes on and on. And when his parents asked him, "Where have you been? Why you didn't come with us?" So he said, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" That's how Yeshua treated the house from the age of 12. And Yeshua came every year. He came to the temple. When you're looking to the book of Matthew, it specifically said, at that hour, Jesus said to the crowd, "Have you come out as a robber with sword and clubs to capture me? Day after day, I sat in the temple teaching." Yeshua sat day after day in the temple teaching. Now you have to understand, we're talking about the temple from the time of King Herod. This is the most amazing building ever built. I want to ask you a question. We know that Yeshua read. We know Yeshua taught. We know Yeshua spoke. We know Yeshua did everything. Yeshua never write something? Yeshua never wrote something? Nothing? What do you think? Did he write something? Well, there is a beautiful answer in the book of John. There is a story about a woman with adultery, and the people in the temple ask him what to do with that. Listen to what Jesus is doing. And Yeshua bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. What? Yeshua in the temple, the biggest building ever. No sand, no dunes, no dirt. Everything paved with marble. What Yeshua could have written on the marble? Listen to that. And as they continued to ask him, he stood up and said to them, "Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her, to stone this woman. And once more, he bent down and wrote something on the ground. What could was written there? This is marble. It will be out of the blue to say that with his finger he incarved on the stones, on the rock, something, because what can you write? I don't know. I'm not sure that you saw the movie about Cleopatra. It was a very old movie. Okay, and in this movie, we can see how God gave Moses the tablets, and it was incarved with the finger of God. And maybe this is what Yeshua did. Like who can write something on marble? So Yeshua wrote, and we can see that. You know, all the three Gospels, we're talking about Matthew and Mark and Luke, they talking about how Yeshua came to the temple very angry and tried to purify the temple. He took a rope, and with the rope, he tried to kick them away. He came and turned upside down the money changer table. Only John writes it in the beginning, John 2. All the other three Gospels, it's almost at the end. This is a little bit different between them. And in the book of Matthew 21, there is, well, I'm always saying this is the most important chapter, but this chapter really includes everything that we're talking about Yeshua. Yeshua is in the temple. And look, and the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priest and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were indignant. They said to him, do you hear what these are saying? And Yeshua said to them, yes. Have you never read, look, out of the mouths of infants and nursing babies you have prepared praise? What it means when Yeshua is telling them about the babies, the infants, the mammals. In Hebrew, we say mammals. And he's saying it to them, and then it says, and leaving them, and he went to the city of Bethany and lodged over there. I love to make parallel things between the New Testament and the Old Testament. And this thing of infants and mammals, you can see that in the book of Psalms. And in the book of Psalms, it's exactly said, the book of Psalms, this is chapter 8, out of the mouths of babies and infants, you have established strength because of foes, enemies, to steal the enemy and the avenger. Guys, what it means that Yeshua is talking about the mammals, about the infants, about the babies, about the nursing, and that's also said in the book of Psalms. Well, it means even from the mammals that they don't know how to speak, you can hear from them and get the courage of strength against your enemies, even from the blah 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 of the children and the babies. And Yeshua is taking that, and that's amazing. So the book of Matthew 21 It's the whole chapter. Yeshua is coming on a donkey, a colt of a donkey, and he is entering to Jerusalem with, the branches, and then to purify the temple, and then this the thing of the mammals, and it's amazing to see how in the temple it's like an octopus. The temple is here, and Yeshua is sending everything all around, all to the whole world. And it's amazing to understand how the temple was so important for him.
Shimon, I have a question for you.
Please, ma'am.
So Herod started building the temple in like 40 BC or 20 BC? 40. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it had been under construction for a very long time by the time that Jesus was going there as an infant and then as an adult. I guess my question is that you hear a lot about how the Jewish people did not like the temple that Herod built because they had issues with Herod. They didn't necessarily like him. And so how did they feel about the temple that he built?
Okay. Before I'm answering that, how long you think it took King Herod to build the temple?
I think it's 46 years, 40, 50 years.
So if he built it, he began to rule 47
40 BC.
approximately.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it's 46, means that he finished to build it 6 years after Yeshua?
Yeah, no, that's not right. It had to have been way more time than that.
No, less. We think that King Herod built everything: Caesarea, Masada, Jerusalem, Jericho, Herodian, everything in between 15 to 20 years.
Okay,
But
wow.
but in the book of John, it says exactly what you said. In the book of John, he said, Jesus answered them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up.
Right.
The Jews then said, it has taken 46 years to build this, and you want to destroy it in 3 days? So we don't know exactly. 46 years, it cannot be. It passing the time. It passing the time of Yeshua. The problem to the Jews wasn't so much King Herod. It was something else. You have to understand, King Herod started as a very good king. King Herod married a Jewish girl. He built the temple, but very fast he became a very big enemy to the Jews. The problem was not King Herod that built the temple. The problem were the priests, especially the high priest. That was the problem. Caiaphas and others before and after. That was the big problem. So, what is actually the story with the priests in the temple? Why we need so many priests in the temple? So, guys, in the time of King Herod, in the time of Yeshua, there were 24 families which guarded the temple. It began with Moses. Before the temple, Moses put 8 families of priests to run all the Jews. When the first temple was built, David fixed it to 24 families. Before that, it was Samuel that he put 16, very short time period. But King David put 24. Like every week, 2 families are guarding what's happening in the temple. In the high holidays, Passover, Pentecost, Shavuot, and the tabernacle, the 3 high holidays, all the 24 families of the priest came to the temple. Who is very famous? Who is very famous in among the priests? For an example, do you know Zechariah?
Oh yeah, the story of Zachariah and his job or chore to go and refresh the incense, right?
So he was one. He was one of the families. Okay, one of the families. What family he used to belong to? He was
Aaron.
he was a family named Avia. This is the eighth family, the shift of the eighth family. You know what is the name of the ninth shift? Yeshua. That's the name. Yeah, the name of this family is Yeshua. That's the name, and you can see that in the book, the first chronicle. The first chronicle. I'll show it even to you. So in chapter 24, the first chronicle, there is from verse 7 all the list of the families, and it says verse 11, the ninth to Yeshua. This is the name of the family. The eighth is Avia. Avia. This is Zechariah. Zechariah is John's father, right? John's father. Zechariah is John's father. Very interesting to talk about Zechariah for a second in the temple. Because when Zechariah came home, and God told him, before he came home, God told him, you are going to have a son. He came home and he said, honey, I don't remember anything. How you became pregnant. God was very angry. And he punished Zechariah. And Zechariah couldn't talk. After 9 months, when the baby was born, John, he began to talk again, and he gave an amazing prayer. What is the name of this prayer? Benedictus. That's the name.
Benedictus.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
so,
I have a question
please,
about
ma'am.
your story, which is that
It's not mine, it's the Bible.
Your version of the story, which is that Luke says that he was rendered mute by the angel Gabriel while he was in the temple.
Yes.
So he came out and he was mute. It wasn't later. I mean, there's no comment about him not remembering conceiving the child with Elizabeth.
That's very depending what gospel you are reading. I want to
what version were you reading? Yeah.
Like look, even more than that, there is an amazing story about you know what, to take things in the Bible and to try to compare them. I don't know if you know the gospel of Jacob. It's not in the Bible, but it was one of the gospels. Jacob, according to tradition, is Yeshua's brother, and he wrote also a book. And in this book, he says that Zechariah refused to tell the Romans, to King Herod's soldiers, to tell them where he's hiding John, and they murdered him. Now, when you're looking to
are you talking about hold on a second, are you talking about the letter of James or
yes,
Jude? Because
Jacob.
James.
Yeah.
Jacob is.
It's not in the Bible.
Okay,
it's on the side of the Bible.
It's a pseudepigraphal book. Somebody assumed the name Jacob and wrote it. Okay, got it. Just want to clarify that. Okay.
And I must show you in the book of Matthew, and then we should try to do a closure because it's a little bit mixed. But it says,
Yeah.
so that on you may come all righteous bloodshed on earth, from the blood of innocent Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Brachia. In the book of Matthew, there is a story about a priest named Zechariah, the son of Brachia, that was murdered, according to the Bible, in between the sanctuary and the temple. And some Christians believe that this Zechariah is John's father. Yeah, when you're taking the two stories, it's very, very similar. So we have to talk about these 24 families, and each one above them, they had the high priest. And we know Caiaphas. And Caiaphas is the high priest. And we have problem with Caiaphas, not so much with Herod. And we more concerned about the relationship between Caiaphas and Pontius Pilate. They served in the same time, more or less. And Caiaphas served between 18 to 36. 18 to 36, of course, after Christ. And he is the one that actually turned Yeshua to Pontius Pilate. And why he did it? Maybe he was afraid that people began to move more after Yeshua, not so much after the high priest. And so we know from scriptures even that it was a very good relationship between them. It was a kind of arrangement between the two, Caiaphas and Pontius Pilate, to try to stop all kind of people, troublemakers like Yeshua. Okay, yeah. By the way, the year 36, the Syrian governor, the Roman Syrian governor, removed Caiaphas and Pontius Pilate from their position. But we don't know what happened to them. Yeah. Now, the high priest was put by the Romans because they knew that he can handle the Jews. And it was very corrupted, very corrupted. And when you'll come again to Israel and we shall visit the house of Caiaphas and we shall see how big is that. And when my fellow Christians coming to Israel, I'm always telling them, yes, everything is holy, everything is nice, everything is about Yeshua, but there is one place, which is the most, and that's the house of Caiaphas. Because when you go going down to the dungeon, the original dungeon, and you can read exactly what Yeshua and how Yeshua talked to God. The book of Psalms 88 was written as like copy paste to this event of Yeshua in the dark pit by himself, waiting to 8 o'clock in the morning to be taken to the crucifixion. Psalms 88, my opinion, the most important thing.
Shimon,
Yes, ma'am.
a little bit more about the temple. Can you just walk us through the size of it and the purpose of it? We know that there was a temple proper, and that was the holy place and the Holy of Holies. But the complex of the temple was massive. And what went on at the temple day in and day out?
So, the temple, one of the things that were discovered in the excavations is a big stone with a sign. Up to here, you can come, but behind it, only Jews can come. And if you are not a Jew and you'll go inside, you are going to be punished. This is how it says on this stone. As time goes by, more and more questions cannot be answered. Today, there is even a controversy about who finished the walls around the temple, and we're talking about it's about 2 kilometers, 1.3 miles, the length of the walls all around, and it's so deep, and it's so high, and it's so fancy, and inside everything with the gold and marble and ivory, and it's unbelievable. And yet we know that Yeshua didn't like the way it was there. He was very angry all the time. He condemned them, and he said, "You are doing nasty things against my father in this building." And so the Jews used like to walk up every day in the high holidays. Of course, it's many more. People used to come from Babylon all the way to the temple in the high holidays. You have to understand, guys. As long as the temple is existing, there are no synagogues in the sense of synagogues as we know. We found in Israel seven or eight synagogues which functioned already as synagogues, but very few, only a few of them, like one digit. Only after the temple was destroyed, Jews began to build what we are calling today synagogues. We're talking a lot about that when we are in Capernaum. We're talking about what it means, synagogue, from the time of Yeshua, before the time of Yeshua. So the temple is fascinating. It's huge. And even today, every day, new path, new kind of tunnel, new room, new hall. Every day, new things are being discovered.
So, but at the temple complex, people would gather and they would listen to somebody teaching like they
Yeah.
do
Like they did with
Jesus.
Yeshua. Yeah.
Okay. And so it wouldn't just be Yeshua that would do it. Other rabbis or priests would
Oh,
come
yeah.
and talk there.
Sure.
It was kind of an open air place for
Yes.
preaching or teaching,
Yes.
and people would gather or not gather.
Yeah, so you can come, everybody, including Gentiles, then only Jews, then only men, then only a priest, and then only the high priest to the Holy of Holies. Which the Holy of Holies is the stone of foundation, the rock of foundation that I mentioned in the beginning.
So, Shimon, let's say that there's an individual that came from far away. What are they doing? How long are they staying? Walk me through their journey.
So, we know that there was two places that it could have been shops. So people came from abroad. They need to change money. They need to buy clothes. They need to purify themselves in the ritual bath. They bought goats or other animals in order to be given to the high priest to sacrifice it. And so this is what they did, and this is the place where Yeshua came to the money changer. There is a beautiful story, the book of John 5, about the pools of Beit Chizda, where Yeshua healed the lame. And there is close to that the sheep gate. The sheep gate. Why sheep gate close to the pools of Beit Chizda? This is how it says in the book of John 5. And Yeshua went up to Jerusalem to the pools of Beit Chizda next to the sheep gate. The Jews used to bring their animals to the pool to purify the animals and to take the animals to the sheep gate to be given to the high priest and that to sacrifice it. So they came from abroad. They used to stay sometimes a long time. You walking like 2 months, 3 months from far away. Yeah, look, when Yeshua's family walking from Nazareth to Jerusalem, it can be 2 weeks. And what about when Yeshua was born and his parents took him to Egypt on a donkey?
Yeah.
That's weeks, months to walk
Right.
with a donkey, infant of a few days old, and you schlepping him all the way to Egypt. Yeah?
Oh, okay, I have a question for you, which is from what I understand, that the money changers and the merchants used to sell their stuff across the Kidron Valley. And that at some point the Sadducees said, let's move it into the temple so that it's more convenient and maybe we can monitor it or whatever. They're monetizing it. And this is partly why Jesus was so mad. It wasn't that he was angry that they had wares to sell or animals or that they had money changers. It was where they were doing it.
Yeah. When you going or taking a perspective of 2,000 years, you can bring any kind of idea. Yeshua fought against everybody, and people chased him. In the second he came to Bethany, and people began to say the Messiah is coming, the new prophet is coming. Everybody were against Yeshua, and when I'm traveling, and last video I talked about it as well. When we are in the north, we are talking about Yeshua doing things for others. But when Yeshua came to Jerusalem, it's totally different. Do you know what is the shortest verse in the Bible? The shortest verse in the Bible, this is from the book of John 11:35, 2 words. Verse 35, 2 words. Yeshua wept. That's it. Yeshua cried. He didn't cry in the north. He cried when he came to Jerusalem, to the temple. He knew exactly what he's going to face. He knew exactly what he's going to check with the Pharisees, with the Sadducees, with the high priest, with everybody that were against him. And one of the things is not exactly what happened exactly in the temple, but also how the others, the high priest and the Pharisees, are actually try to translate the holy things and to put it in the temple. Mm-hmm. He fought very hard against them.
I want to go back to Jeremiah's question about if you walked there and you spent a few weeks, would you go to, and you're in Jerusalem or the surrounding area, would you go to the temple every day? And would you go to a service? Would you go to listen to people talk? Are you just going to see others and meet people? What was the daily function of the temple?
So if you coming in the high holidays, okay? So if you
define the high holy days for me.
It's a Passover, Pesach for us, Shavuot, which is the Pentecost, and Sukkot, the tabernacle. So if you come for
when most
Passover,
people would come.
Yeah, Passover, it's 8 days. You'll go every day, of course. If you coming Shavuot, Pentecost, in only 2 days. If you coming on
the tabernacle
is 8 days. 8 days. Yeah. And so it depends. But people used to come from far away because you see they couldn't pray in their places. They used to come to the temple
because of the lack of synagogues. So this was the place that they would go to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would come, you would ritually bathe, you could give your sheep or your animals through the sheep gate so they could be sacrificed on your behalf. Yeah. You could learn from teachers that are there. Is there music? Where do you eat? How do all these other things work?
No, you're not allowed to eat. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Not also music inside. Not inside. By the way, let's take the book of John 9 where Yeshua healed the blind in the pools of Siloam. Remember the pools of Siloam? How he healed him? He spit on the ground, put the saliva and the mud on his eyes. In this pool is exactly, people used to purify themselves. We found there all the shops. You could have bought what you needed and walk all the way to the Temple Mount. The same as the pools of Bet Chizda, exactly the same. You
And
know,
that was that
yeah,
path. That path to the temple was the Pilgrim's Road, which they're
exactly.
currently uncovering. But you could
Yes.
start at the Pool of Siloam and then walk up to the temple, and that point you would be purified and ready to go into the temple
Yeah.
area,
Yes.
right?
Guys, you have to
Okay.
understand what it means purify. When you going to the purification system, the ritual bath, and you coming out and you walking by your friend and you accidentally touched him, that's it. You are not pure anymore. You have to go back to the water. You're not allowed to touch each other. Purify is purify. Yeah.
Seems
And
very, very strict.
it's very difficult to be a Jew.
So Shimon, the teachers that were inside the temple, did they just come? Were they counted? Is it like, hey, you're going to teach this week? How did that process work?
You know, it's like each one is talking, and people gathering around him, like Yeshua. He didn't come and put a pamphlet and said, "Today I'm going to talk about that and that and that." You know, he sat and talked, and people coming and gathering around him. And the teachers, it's more rabbis, scholars, yeah, in the sense of.
Were
Was
they
there any vetting?
monitoring what they were saying? Like, were they? Yeah, thank you, Jeremiah. Say that again. Were they?
Was there any vetting process of who could teach in there? Would they pull you if you weren't teaching the proper stuff? How'd that work?
He was 12 years old when he taught there.
Yeah,
So
that's
no
what
limitation.
I'm curious about is like, so a 12-year-old can go walk in. So I would think that they had to have some sort of system and worried about false prophets or false teachings or making sure, because
Yes.
Caiaphas, right? They're in charge. This is their livelihood. They're making their money, their power, their influence. They've got to keep this under control for Rome, right?
Yeah, look, you said something like you know, it's like the needle in the balloon, talking about false, about all kind of fake priests. That brings us to actually to what Yeshua prophesied about the temple, about the destruction, about the end of the temple. That's exactly what Yeshua said, and I want to share it with you. And this is from the book of Matthew. It's amazing. It's amazing. Listen to that. The book of Matthew 24. Yeshua left the temple and was going away when the disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, "You see all this? Do you not, truly I say, do you not? There will not be left here, not even one stone above a stone." Nothing. Yeshua is prophesying about the biggest building ever built. It's like, I'm not sure about the size. I think like a size of 8 football,
Okay.
something
It's
like
very
that. Yeah.
big.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And I want you to listen what he said. This is actually the end. How Yeshua is prophesying the end. As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will this thing be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the close of the age?" And Yeshua answered them, "See that no one leads your astray. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but beginning of this birth pain." A little bit. "Then they will deliver you up to the tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Guys, Yeshua said 2,000 years ago, hey, you are going to be hated because of me, because of my name. Look what's going on around the world. Look how everybody hating the Jews. He said that 2,000 years ago. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because of lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And the gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as testimony to the nations. And then the end will come. That's the end of the age. That's how Yeshua is putting. Guys, that's exactly what happened 70 after Christ. The temple was destroyed, and we went to 2,000 years of exile. And look, the temple began, and the beginning, 12 years old. Every year he came with his parents. The age of 12, he taught there. Every holiday he came there. Then he came and prophesied and fought with everybody. And he tried to clean it, and he tried to purify the place. Nothing helped, and he said, the end will come. Closure.
Tell us about how the Romans could have destroyed that place. It's always been a bit of a mystery to me how you could take such a massive complex and destroy it.
Okay, so we have two issues here. One, King Herod brought totally new technique to build the walls. Not even 1 inch of cement. Only the heavy weight of the stones, that what kept the walls. I'm talking about 600 metric tons of a stone, okay? The second thing he did, he didn't build the walls straight, 90 degrees angle. No, the walls are actually like that because every line of stone was put 1 inch inside. Every line of stone, 1 inch inside. So the walls are like that. So when the Romans came, all they had to do is to push and push and push because there is no any cement. The second thing, King Herod built with lot of wood. Wood. By the way, King Solomon started. King Solomon, he got all the cedar trees from Hiram, from Lebanon.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And so Jewish. If you'll come today to a Jewish synagogue, a lot is with wood, not only cement, and wood burns. And people saying, I don't know even how to translate it to Fahrenheit, but they're talking about 1,300 degrees Celsius heat.
Wow.
Yeah. So even today, when we are coming to places and we have places that you can see the remains of the fire, you see black spots, how the stones were actually eaten. Like the fire was so strong. Guys, don't forget, the Romans are the strongest military ever. Disciplined, strong, very sophisticated. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's the destruction.
So what is the thinking about what will happen next with the temple in the Jewish community, like in Israel? Will there be a third temple?
You have to ask me twice. You have to ask me first as a secular Jew, And then you have to ask me
Yes.
as a religious Jew, what you prefer first.
Tell me as a secular Jew.
As a secular Jew, I think that will stay as it is. No one can
Okay.
touch the Temple Mount now. Now it's the third and the fourth most holiest places for the Muslims. This is the most sensitive explosive material, and that can start a world war, not just a war. And well, for me as a Jew, it's also holy, but I can go from time to time up. I'm not allowed as a Jew to look to the stone. Jews are not allowed to look at the stone, the stone of foundation. So as a secular Jew, I do believe
Oh,
that will be. What is your second
so you're
question?
wait. So just the stone of foundation is inside the mosque. That's there. So that's why you can't go in and look at it. Nobody.
No,
You
no,
have to be
no, no,
Muslim
no.
to go in.
Even if you could have gone inside, you're not allowed to look at this
Right.
stone.
Oh,
Jews are not
I didn't
allowed.
realize that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're not allowed to look at that. That's a big sin, by the way.
Okay.
A big sin. Now, you have another
What do
question?
What do you
Muslims
mean
believe
by
about the stone?
What?
What do Muslims
What?
believe about the stone?
They believe that in this area, Muhammad tied his horse before he went up. The name of the horse is Lightning. And
Okay.
this is what they believe. But I told you, the name Jerusalem, not even once in the Quran. Nothing.
right?
So,
So
yeah,
what?
we
So
look.
what do you believe? What do you believe as a religious Jew about the third temple?
That the mosques on the Temple Mount will be destroyed and the third temple will be built. And I'm very proud to say that we, the Jews, we have even an institute in Jerusalem named the Temple Institute, which we already preparing things for the temple to be built, like the golden menorah and all the dust pan and all the what we need there, like the holy things, the Torah, everything we preparing. And when the Messiah will come, the mosque will be destroyed and the third temple will be built. That's what I believe as a religious Jew. And by the way, every time when I'm praying, I will be praying for Leshana Ba'a Beirushalayim Abnuya, next year in built Jerusalem.
Let
Yeah.
me understand that more.
So we believe that Jerusalem is the heart of the Jewish nation. And the Temple Mount is the heart of Jerusalem. And of course, this is the house of the Lord, the house of God. This house of God was destroyed. We do believe that the Holy Ark of Covenant was there and was stolen. And we want that it will be built again. And we believe that the Holy Ark of Covenant will be found as well. So we do believe as
You think it'll
religious
be
Jews
found? Yeah. You think it'll be
will
found
be
somewhere
found.
in the temple complex? You don't know where.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But we as a religious Jew, I do believe that the temple will be built. Don't listen to the secular people. I can tell you as a religious one, the temple will be built.
Those secular people, we can't trust them.
We can't trust.
Yeah. So we're here in the States. The majority of whom listen to us are here in the States. What misconceptions do you feel like most Americans have about the temple that you'd like to set straight? Just pick 2 or 3 of them.
So what I would like to say is, it's very easy. If you're a Christian, all you have to do is to open the Bible. You cannot be a Christian and not to believe what it said in the Bible. Just take the stories from all the Gospels, and you can build a model of the temple on the Temple Mount. How can you ignore it? But you know, it's always very easy to become the underdog. And yeah, these poor Muslims, the Jews took the temple, they destroyed everything. And you know what? I heard once a Muslim guide said that the Muslims built the walls around the temple. So you can't you
Wow.
can't even you can't even fight against that. You cannot. But if you're a Christian, how can you not believe? Just open the Gospels, and everything is written there. What are you ignoring what Yeshua said? Are you ignoring the names of the gates on the Temple Mount? Are you ignoring the connection between Mount of Olives, Kidron Valley, and the Temple Mount? How can you ignore it? It's just reach your hand and you'll touch it. So if people believe in that, I can talk to them. When people just will say, you the Jews, you killed everybody and this is not yours, what can I say? You know what? We shall talk again. We did 2 podcasts in the beginning about the situation. And we shall talk again about the
I think that's a
situation.
good idea.
Yeah, because it's really, things been changed. Maybe by the time we should do it, it will be new things about the hostages, good news about the hostages. So many rumors about the hostages. There is no any chance that old people, 80, 85, 90 years old, can survive in the tunnels. Humidity, no air, no food, no medicine, nothing.
Yeah.
Not talking about
I think
the
we
infant.
should do.
Yeah.
I think we should do a follow-up on that. But
Yeah.
I have one more question about, at one point, the Jews had control of the Temple Mount, and that's in
67.
1967.
Yeah.
Why did they give it up then?
That was a stupid move by Moshe Dayan.
Okay.
That he was the Minister of Defense back then. And he said, in order to establish a good relationship with the Muslims. Guys, there is no such a thing Palestinians 1967. We're talking about Muslims, Arabs. And he said, in order to establish a good relationship with the Muslims, with the Arabs, let's give it to them to control. And that was a very, very stupid move. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you go to the Temple Mount now and you're walking around it, what do you think and feel about it?
As a secular Jew or as a religious one?
We don't trust those secular people.
Yeah, we don't. So as a religious Jew, what do you think? Because you're fortunate to be able to go up there and walk around it.
Yeah. So first of all, I will never wear shoes made out of leather or rubber or only barefoot. It's too holy to step on that with shoes. So we are not going with shoes. I can walk around. Unfortunately, as a religious Jew, I want very much to pray there. I can't. In the second I will begin to pray, I will be kicked out, not by the Muslims, by the Israeli soldiers, because the Israeli police doesn't want that it will be a provocative things and, all riots will start. So it's very, very difficult to hold it. As a religious Jew, I will pray in my heart, I will walk around, and I'll say, that's the heart of the Jewish people. That's the house of the Lord. But there is nothing we can do. Yeah.
That's a fascinating place. Thank you for walking us through what is undoubtedly one of the most well-known places in the world.
You have been up there, Sandy, no?
Well, I have. Yes, I have. But I just have to say
Jeremiah.
that I'd like to come. Yeah.
Jeremiah wants to come too.
Jeremiah needs to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to go to Greece with you too.
Okay, what about Greece?
What about it? We need to do it. I'm thinking about it almost every day. Like, what time of year should it be? Next March or next April? So I need to do some work on it.
Do, because
As soon as
if yes, we have to build it.
I know what we have to do. I've
City
done it
loves work.
already.
Well, we are drifting all over the place now. Shimon,
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time. I appreciate all the knowledge and wisdom, the lifetime that I can tell that you've spent in this. Your perspective is amazing. I found myself many times listening and just seeing how you can build this version of something when you're 3,000 miles away and you don't understand the culture. And then when you rub up against somebody like yourself, you realize how empty the version is I have in my mind. And I can start to feel the weight of the people that are close to it and the culture that's surrounded by it. And I still have 1,000 more questions. We could talk about this for 10 more hours, and maybe we will talk about it, hopefully, some more in the future. I think we'll have some more questions for you. But again, thank you so much for your time today and bestowing your knowledge upon us.
And if you're interested in Shimon being your guide, reach out to him at Shimon Zimmer, Zemer, at gmail.com. And I'm certain he'd love to plan a trip for you to come to Israel. And we will do that as soon as it makes sense. You know that.
Yeah.
So thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
guys.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.